Comrades, in November 1984, I was appointed into the Assistant Branch Secretary of the Seamen's Union following a three-cornered election in Victoria. It was the proudest day of my life, quite frankly. I was very, very proud of it. And I never thought that I'd be here today having make this conversation. So I'm a bit emotional about it. Some time ago I went out to talk to Paddy following the last elections, and Paddy and I are of the same age, and we've been talking to each other about this for a considerable period of time, and that is succession planning and how we hand the baton over to the next generation of leaders in this union, this great union. And for us to both retire at the same age, at 65 or same period, would be negligent on our part. So I made it very clear to Paddy that I'm prepared to go a bit earlier. I didn't want to go anywhere between my term to the conclusion of the term that I was elected for. There was plenty of scuttlebutt about the joint that from the naysayers that Doleman's just going to get elected and then legged up into the ITF or whatever the case may be. So that was never the case and never on the radar. So I wanted to see the term through. I've said to Paddy that I don't intend to stand for my re-election in 2015, and this is my formal resignation to my comrades around the table. One of the things that have persuaded me to make this decision is the fine work that's come out of the Maritime International Federation. When we embarked on this discussion, I wasn't 100% sure that it would actually go anywhere. Not that we didn't have the capacity or the logic was flawed. It was whether or not there'd be enough faith in our organisation amongst its existing officials, and more importantly about our comrades in PNG, New Zealand and now Indonesia, and to a lesser degree, not in terms of faith in our union, but preparedness to make that final step, our comrades in Timor-Leste. Bearing in mind we established that union with those comrades in 2004, a very, very proud moment for this union and its members. I have been absolutely enthralled by the enthusiasm, the camaraderie and the fair dinkumness of those participating unions in this Maritime International Federation. It is going somewhere. There is genuine interest in it. There is a realisation that it has a role to play, not independent or separate to the ITF, but complementary and part of it. Not independent to the ACTU or the national industrial councils within New Zealand, East Timor, Papua New Guinea or Indonesia, but to be complementary to it and to use the resources collectively of our partners in the Maritime International Federation to do good for working men and women in the various countries in our region and elsewhere. So for that reason, and the fact that I mentioned to Paddy that I still think I'm pretty young, I can't believe I'm 60 next year, but I am, and so is Paddy, and so is Hollywood. We're the 55-year-old, 55s.
Bloody getting old.
I think I've still got plenty to offer to the union movement and to the struggle and to the political movement in this country. And if it's agreeable, I'm more than prepared to take on the role as a coordinator or the international officer or whatever you want to call it of the Maritime International Federation. Not as a secretary, not as a president. They will be determined by the due process in the rules that I discussed with you earlier today. So, Comrade Chair, that's my statement. I know at some stage will be an opportunity over a beer to have a more formal comment, but I'm very, very proud for this union. Thanks.
Come into the joint, Mick was very senior. Even at 22 or 23, Mick was a significant, talk about young workers, Mick was a significant leader of the union. He was active within the branch, he was a young bosun, you know, so he'd been at sea for 7 years, he'd been on the Blythe Star, you don't talk about it, but it you know, sank at sea and he's in a lifeboat for a period of time, and where people died, and they ended up down the southwest corner under Strawn, I think, and Mick was one of the guys that walked out of there and saved those people that were dying on the beach down there. And that was how they brought EPIRBs in, and Mick was part of that whole process in the early 70s when they had to put EPIRBs on every boat, because if you could die at sea off Tasmania on a trip between Hobart and Melbourne, what chance did you get in the wide open Ogden? So this, Mick was a legend, and was union to his bootstraps. And of course, they had the old Seamen's Union had active youth. They would encourage everybody to get involved in the union. They always say you join a ship, and the old delegates say there's an old delegate and there's a young delegate, and they always put it together. That was the policy of the vessel, the old guy and the young guy, and you learn off the old guy. And so there was this whole regeneration, and of course that then translated into Mick being one of the youngest trade union leaders in the country. He was ended up president of and then this is not his farewell. He's already indicated he's going for the term, but I think it's proper to give the recognition here for the minutes, because Mick ended up as president of the TLC at a really, really young age. He was elected in 1983, I think it was, to the Victorian branch. So I was never much good at fucking arithmetic, even though I finished my education. But he was that mate born in 1955, so he was at 31 or 32. It's a powerful position. And Vic TLC was when the Victorian Trades and Labour Council was still strong. But in those days, Mick addressed, you see him in the young Mick Doleman addressing mass meetings of 100,000, 150,000 workers outside with guys like Halfpenny and Carmichael and all the giants of the trade union movement. And Mick could have gone into Parliament at any time. He would have been the enfant terrible. He was the Paul House of the left, if you like.
You were going really good.
In terms of recognition for age and being a precocious talent. And he believed from some of his stories, he was to the left in that time when we were 1 minute to midnight, and we were a generation that grew up under the threat of nuclear holocaust. And Mick and as our families grew older, we had young families because we married so young, we were at every Palm Sunday rally, Hiroshima Day. Mick was translated that into trade union leadership. He was a Marxist-Leninist, a communist, and part of the Maritime Union socialist activities. He was, a lot of the shooting was over between the CPA and the SPA. By the time we got there, Mick was in the SPA for a period of time and was part of that division when. So he's a guy who had muscle, political muscle and industrial muscle at this extraordinarily young age. And the fact that he didn't go on to Parliament, because plenty of people encouraged him to, and to do a lot of things, that he stayed because of his loyalty to the union, and was one of the reasons that we're such a strong union today. So it's a significant, and Mick said it himself, after his 45 years, next year, Mick's been 45 years in the union. Think about it, at 59. And, that's just that's a working life. He's never done anything else except this union. So again, congratulations, comrade. A principled, a proper decision at the right time, and something that does not only you proud, but I know with Pat Garrity and Taffy Swedenson as guys, if Tassie Bull was alive, him as well, has been a great mentor to young guys. Funny thinking about being a young guy now, we're so old, but they were great mentors to us as young blokes. John Kearns, I know that all of the giants of this, Jimmy Donovan, all the giants of this union will recognise this decision for what it is. Congratulations, mate.